Hi, this is DarkFox127 and welcome to another Skyrim Creation Kit tutorial video. Today I'm going to be doing something a little different. I'm going to be showing people how to create a farmer. So I'm not really going to bother with making a farm. I've just made a really strange sort of interior cell setup here to show you how to just do the basics. It'll all sort of make sense as we carry on. So I've got two wonderful NPC volunteers here. The man we all know, who's actually aged a bit in time now, Barney Blue, and we've got his illegal immigrant wife from, well, we don't really know where she's from, but she's called Pamela Pink. So she's going to be helping us show a few sort of AI package setups. Right. To get started, you obviously want to load your Skyrim and update ESM, and if you're using a current mod, set as active. If you don't know that by now, then tough luck. So don't always have to upload sort of use our update, but you can if you want. Right, I don't really want to use that. We are going to start off by obviously making your NPC. So you need a farm. I'm not going to go through all sort of the things of creating an NPC. I've already made Barney Blue here. He's going to be my main farmer. So you just want to make your NPC. You can use my followers tutorial if you want to know how to just do the basics of NPCs, set them up and all that. There's just a few things that you need to tweak on your NPC to sort of make them a farmer and to add the correct factions. So I've done all of his traits, his stats. The stats you can change the class and put that to farmer if you want. It really doesn't matter stat wise. I mean, they're just going to be wondering about doing what farmers do. Factions is the main important thing now. To start off, I'm just going to add about 3 factions into this, and I'm going to add one later on, which will make a little more sense. So first of all, type in farmer, and there is a job farmer faction. You want to add that one, go new. Our farmer's actually going to be able to sell us stuff as well, if I can type today. So he's going to need to be a merchant, and we need job merchant faction, alternate click new again, and general job faction. So job merchant faction. I think it may come under miscellaneous, but we'll just retype merchant, see if it states now. We'll go with MISC, because that sort of covers everything anyway. So we'll go with MISC. Those 3 are very important. Without those, it just isn't going to work. The selling point of things. Relationships you don't really need to bother with. If you want them to have a relationship with someone else, obviously you can set that up. So you could put Pamela Pink as his wife, but we're not going to get through that kind of silly detail. You want to make sure that they're not aggressive or anything, so they're not going to try and kill you when you sort of visit the farm. Packages are going to come in a moment. We're going to sort of set a few things up first. Let's think. Inventory you don't really need to bother with, just make sure that they're wearing some clothes, and the rest is pretty self-explanatory. So we'll go on, we'll click OK. OK. Barney's going to sell stuff. Pamela's just going to sort of be my example of another AI package setup for farming things. So you're going to wonder why I've got the water here. So first I'm going to click all. I'm going to go in the filter and I'm going to put in bucket. I'm not actually going to set these bucket things up. This you can do yourself. I'm just going to do sort of a carrying firewood thing. So you'll learn how NPCs are able to carry items. It doesn't seem to work in a lot of cases, but I've got the firewood working. Basically the bucket one, if you look in maybe... where is it? It might be sort of Whiterun or anywhere like that, Whiterun, Riverwood. There are the odd people that have to go, and they go to sort of rivers nearby and they get a bucket out of their inventory and they actually scoop up water and they go and take it somewhere. So these 2 markers here, bucket carry fill marker and bucket carry pour. The pour marker you usually put by sort of like a horse trough. So if we type in trough, it's all sort of farmer stuff. You'd sort of place that over the trough. You can place that specifically yourself. I'm just going to move that out of the way. And you can link those up sort of in the same way as I understand, as the wood. So I'm just going to show you the sort of carrying wood. Wood, you might have seen sort of Fine Darling Riverwood. He carries wood back and forth between locations. There's also a guy in Whiterun. That's the main thing that I'm going to show you how to do. So if we type in, what is it? I've got it here somewhere. It's under the name wood pile. And you want this one here, not the static ones. And this is the wood pile that you see usually next to chopping blocks. So I'm also going to do a sort of chopping block thing, set a package up where our farmer's going to chop wood. Chop ought to get it. Chop and chopping block. There it is. Put your chopping block in. You can set all this up in whatever arrangement you want. So we're going to have a package for chopping up our wood. Then he's going to actually get his wood. And he's going to take this to another wood pile somewhere else. Like he's delivering wood to whoever buys it off him. So you'll need 2 wood piles. Just spin that around. And we'll put that in that corner, have them some sort of distance to travel. Obviously, like I said, I've just got a little test interior cell for this setup. This you'll actually arrange in your own sort of farm setup, wherever you may put that. I'm not actually going to build a farm. That's pretty obvious stuff, really. So we're going to have Barney Blue now actually go ahead and sort of cut up his wood and spend his time taking the wood back and forth between 2 areas. So this is where our AO packages come in. We're going to go back in and edit Barney Blue. And AI packages. You can use sort of default packages for a lot of things, but we're just going to go ahead and make fresh, clean packages because it's nice and easy and we know what we've got set up. So we are going to call this DF Barney Woodpile. You can call it whatever you will. That just makes it easier. Under package template, you're going to want carry and drop item. You've also got carry and keep item, but I haven't experimented with that. When I show you how this sort of stuff works, you can sort of mess with that yourselves afterwards. So carry and drop. Carry start, leave that as link reference, and the same for carry end. This is sort of going to be specified with the actual link references between the character and the woodpile. That'll make more sense in a moment. You can leave true and the wait after carry. That's all sort of set up. Now you could have it so this person just does that all day long and never does anything else for the rest of their life, but we're going to schedule this. I'll usually put this in the sort of ID as well. Let's have him do that from 8 for 4 hours, where he decides to carry his wood back and forth. So the duration we'll put to 4 hours. The hour is going to start at 8. You can put any minutes. So that's going to have him start that at 8 o'clock in the morning and then finish around midday, around dinner time. So that should actually do that. That's pretty obvious. Now that's not quite set up yet. We're just going to go ahead and click OK. We'll do the other package in a moment. So we're going to need to do sort of the actual link referencing now. So if you double click on Barney and go link reference, just check I got this right. There's quite a lot to follow through here. Yeah, we'll do the link reference first. Double click that, select reference, if it ever works. There we go. Double click one of your wood piles, doesn't matter which for me at the moment, but you might actually want a specific starting point. And the keyword will be, link carry. Link carry start, that's our starting one. Obviously the end one, you'll click the other wood pile, make sure it's visible in the render window or you're going to have some trouble. Select, double click that wood pile, and link carry end. Okay. That's the link references set up. Just go back into Barney Blue, edit his actual base again. And we need to add a little script here. Don't worry about it, you don't have to write any script up. You just add one that already exists. You'll probably get a warning if you've got any sort of Dawn Guard or Hearth or anything added on, because there's usually a Dawn Guard script it moans about now. What's the script? That's it. Carry actor script. Manual script is usually used for carrying other random items. I haven't actually sort of messed with that enough myself, but you can do that. Properties of the script. Now, carry item misc, edit the value and type in firewood, because that's the actual item that he's going to pick up when he goes to the wood pile. The count usually set to around 3, that's sort of the maximum that you can carry at any given time. And stop carrying item is offset stop. So make sure you've got those 3 things filled. Don't worry about the other ones, you don't actually need them. Click OK. Now he's set up from 8 o'clock till about 12 o'clock to carry wood back and forth. If we went in, he'd start doing that now, as long as you've saved your mod, obviously. But we're just going to add one more thing that he's going to decide to do for the rest of his time. So the remainder of his time, we're going to actually have him chopping up wood. So DF Barney chop wood, put any time. So actually think here. Let's have a look. It might just be sort of a sandbox thing and point it directly at the item. So probably better off just going with sandbox. Now just make sure that we've actually got our chopping block in range again. So near location, excuse me. Double click the chopping block, make sure it's near reference, click OK, and just put a really small radius so the chopping block's really the only thing that he can sort of use, and he should stand there and just chop wood for the rest of his time. You can sort of disallow eating and sleeping because you don't want him doing that when he's there. You don't really have to do all this if it's the only thing that he can use there anyway. So that should be that. The schedule we can leave because it's just set to any time. Okay. Now if you know anything about packages or you've watched my previous package tutorials, you'll know that the order is actually a pretty important thing here. The thing at the top always wins, so when the top package is not applicable, it goes to the next. So because the top one at the moment is our wood chopping one, and he does that at any moment and it's not scheduled, that means that all he'll ever do is chop wood and he'll never go down to the wood pile because that one is always relevant. So you want that one at the bottom so that when he's not doing that within those hours, it refers down to that package. So hopefully that makes sense, because people find packages quite confusing sometimes. Let's make him essential and unique so he isn't going to die. Dragon isn't going to bite his head off or anything. Click OK. OK. Now he should be set up to actually sort of chop wood and carry his wood back and forth between those 2 wood piles. Now I'm just going to throw in another couple of useful things for farming. You see farmers going back and forth using rakes and stuff at random intervals. That's what Pamela Pink's going to be for. So we're just going to drop in an idle marker. You can type in idle, and if we scroll down we should see one which is something to do with farming. Idle farming marker, there we go. Drag and drop that one in. Most markers are usually this nice blue box with an eye in it. So we're going to choose where she's going to farm. We've got sort of some crops over here that I've placed, so we're going to just drag that there. Let's put it at a bit of an angle. Idle markers can be very strange things. Sometimes NPCs just don't want to use the damn things and they're quite picky about it. So one thing I sort of use that forces them to sort of focus on it and see it is by actually fixing it to them by putting them as the owner of that marker. That seems to be used in a lot of cases in the vanilla game. So DF Pamela Pink as the ownership NPC. That also means that Pamela's the only one that's going to be able to use it. So Barney's not going to go over and steal her spot and start raking when he's meant to be chopping wood or anything. So that should be fine. And we can pretty much just sort of do the same thing here. Set Pamela up to use a rake there. You can also do patrolling, have them patrol around their farm, make it look like they're checking on crops and stuff. There's a lot of other really useful idle markers that you can use, such as, I don't know, searching chests, flowers idle marker, like they're checking on flowers and picking flowers. You can throw those in. We'll probably dump one of those in as well. Again, set the ownership to Pamela. Click OK. So it's just a load of useful things that you can pick up, and then if we wanted, we can get Pamela set up to use the bucket. That should technically work just the same way as the wood, but instead of selecting firewood in that script, you would obviously select a bucket, so that she's using a bucket to carry, and the maximum would most likely end up being 1, because you don't want to carry shed loads of buckets. I mean, don't want to put strain on the woman. So we now want to just set up our package for Pamela Pink. I suppose we can give her the same, just farmer faction. I'm not actually sure if this does an awful lot. It just really does sort of mainly mark them as a farmer, and it may or may not introduce a bit of farmer dialogue. I'm not too sure, but you can see after you've messed with it. So, what are we doing? Edit base, sorry. And we want to go to packages, so we're just going to set one nice standard package up where she's always farming. You can start adding sort of sleep packages and stuff. You can check out my AI packages tutorial. I've got 2 out there. There is a newer one. You may want to check out the newer one. That'll sort of teach you how to do basic packages like sleeping, eating, all of that. You can also check out my guard tutorial, which will guide through the patrolling. That is still useful for farming. So we will go with farm, just say anytime, schedule we can leave, just the easier way of setting it up. And again we'll go with sandbox, and we'll put near location, near reference, select reference, and we'll just double click on one of these markers, and then we'll just stick the radius to 100. So within a radius of 100 from that selected reference, which in this case is a marker, she'll be able to use those 2 markers and sort of start farming. Okay. And then obviously in addition to that, you can just start adding farm animals. I mean, they should really just be a simple matter of adding them in, just dumping them down. They don't necessarily have to have much set. ENC cow, raw exted cow, that's interesting. So we'll drag a cow in as well. I have roughly nav meshed this area, so the one thing to keep note of is to be 100% sure that you have nav meshed the area. If it's a new custom area like my cell here, make sure that you've nav meshed, otherwise these NPCs aren't going to show up and they're not going to do anything. So we're going to go ahead and save that. Everything should be set up. We should be able to go in game, and we should have our farmers at work. Okay, so here we are in game, and there's our cow. Anyone wants to name the cow, please leave comments below. I'll pick the best name and it'll be featured in the next tutorial, no matter what it is. Just staring at his backside then. Right, as we can see, Barney, yeah, he's aged a bit. He sort of hopped into a time portal and it screwed up his age. But he's carrying the wood back and forth, which is exactly what we want him to do. And, well, Pamela Pink was hoeing, but now she's got a bit lazy and she's eating bread. But yeah, she does actually sort of activate on her idle markers when she's not eating. So we're just going to push time forward a bit, and we're going to see Barney chopping up some wood, hopefully. There we go, straight to the wooden block. Chop up his wood. And that is our packages working. We're now going to hop back into the kit, and we are going to set Barney up as a merchant, a farming merchant, so he sells us sort of food and hunting equipment. Okay, so we are back in the kit, and we are going to set up Barney to be a merchant. So first of all, if you recall about 18 minutes ago, I said that we'd need to have 4 factions, and we only put the 3 in. The next faction we now have to create, so if you go under character and faction, alternate click and new, we're going to call this DF Barney Merchant. Again, if I can type. Barney Merchant faction. Can be owner. Go to vendor. Click on vendor. You can click the start hour and the end hour, but just to make things simple, we're going to leave that as 0 and put the hour as 24. The end hour, that means that they'll always be able to sell your stuff. That's a nice little trick if you don't want them limited to times. Click near cell for the location. Radius you don't need to bother with. Vendor list is quite interesting. If you type in vendor into the actual list there, We've got a number of options. You can actually go with Hunter. That generally tends to be sort of food and farming stuff. That should really do it. You can also put Lumberjack, or a really nice additional sort of useful thing that I'm going to actually show you. You can set your own vendor list up. So if you go under form list here, type in vendor, you can actually get access to all of these lists and make your own. So if you wanted to just make a different version of the Hunter one, you could duplicate that, edit it, call it Hunter 2, and as you can see, he'll be able to sell animal parts, animal hide, and raw food. Now, you could also change that so he can sell some proper food. In fact, we might as well go ahead and actually do that. You can just change it to keywords, and then you can drag in the keywords. So we've got food raw, and we'd also like him to sell some normal food. You've got a number of other things as well, sort of recipes, staffs. You obviously wouldn't want him selling that stuff. So you can select all the stuff that you want. For now, that will probably do. Click OK. No, and then yes, because we've already duplicated it. This won't actually instantly refresh. We'll just confirm that. Click OK, and we'll go back to the faction. Type in Barney. And then if you go in here, it's now reset, and there's our vendor items hunter. So that really lets you sort of refine what kind of things they can sell. If you want them to be able to sort of buy and sell any items off yourself, so if you're working with a miscellaneous merchant, then you'd sort of tick that box. We're not going to tick that box. We only want to be able to sell back stuff that they can sell to us. So they're not going to go and buy a massive war hammer off you if they're just a farmer. What use are they going to have that for, apart from beating up sort of coyotes trying to eat their sort of chickens and stuff? But we don't have that problem. So anyway, vendor conditions, you can sort of set conditions saying like the guy has to be a friend for him to sell stuff, but we're not going to bother with that. That's a little more complicated than we need. Merchant chest, we're going to have to go and set up a little chest. You can keep that window open and just sort of drag it to the side, or just keep it minimized. So the chest is actually going to be the items that he's going to sell. So if you go under world objects, container, we'll just type in merchant. We want to get hold of an existing merchant's chest. So there should be a Whiterun one. That one will do. So it's good to sort of find a merchant chest of someone that you know that sells the sort of stuff that you want him to be selling. So we're going to completely rename this, and we're going to call it DF Barney Chest. So as you can see, it's already set a lot of it up for us. We're going to also add the additional items that we want. So here you can add all sorts of items. So you can select general food. There might be food for all. So you can say like cabbages and carrots and all sorts. So you can really refine everything that you want, add all sorts of things that you want. So you can add fish and everything. I'm not going to go into too much, just going to add a few more extra things, and you select the count. You can then sort of preview, say I'm level 34, you can preview calculated results and see the kind of things that they're going to have on them, rather than have to keep loading up the game and checking on what you've changed. Again, the gold you can change as well. Vendor gold street vendor, you can multiply it. The number that you put in here will multiply the base number. So if you preview, he's now got sort of 150 gold on him. Again, you can change that to other sort of vendor golds. You can make sure they've got plenty of gold on them, set it to 10. And you get the idea. It's kind of like having 500 gold on them, so that's a little more reasonable. So once you've set the chest up, click OK. We're going to go no and yes because we've already made a duplicate. And we're going to, again, type in Barney, get to the chest. You're going to want to drag the chest into the cell that they are. They have to be close to their chest to sell the items. Otherwise, their option isn't going to come up to sell things if like their box is on the other side of the world. You can do one of two things. You can either keep the box in the void out the way so the player can't get access to it, or you can keep it more realistic and have the box sort of close to them that they can access, but you don't want the player getting access and you don't want them to be able to open it. So if we can ever like click our box again rather than Pamela Pink, move. There we go. You can click on lock. You can lock it and say requires key and don't actually specify a key. But obviously, being on the PC, people are just going to be idiots about it anyway, and they're going to open up the console command, they're going to type unlock, and they're going to lock the thing, and they're going to nick everything. So it's up to you. I sometimes do keep my chests in the cell somewhere, and if people want to steal things, that's sort of their choice. But we're going to drag it in the void and leave it there. If you do lock it, don't worry, Barney Blue doesn't have to have a key. He can still get in there and sell all his junk. So we now need to actually set our faction to Barney. This is a bit that a lot of people tend to forget. They set the faction up, they link the chest, which again I haven't actually done that yet. They link the chest up and then they realise nothing's happening, and it's because Barney doesn't know that he's supposed to be selling it because you haven't added the faction. So if we put Barney, have Barney's faction, click OK, OK, yes, OK, just save that. All dialogue boxes. Here we go. This is the bit that we almost missed out. You want to make sure that you can see your chest. And now we just need to link the faction to this chest. So anything in this chest is basically what he's going to sell. Select the reference. OK. There we go. So Barney should now be able to sell anything that is in that chest, and we should be able to sell items to him. And it should be available at any point in the day. The other thing to be sure of is that the character actually has dialogue that is compatible with selling stuff, and as you can see I've actually got him set to male drunk, which probably wouldn't have gone down well. It means it probably wouldn't have worked, so we're just going to stick with male Nord. It makes things nice and simple, and then we're going to save, and we're going to go in game, and hopefully Barney is now selling us some nice rare foods, carrots, cabbages, all sorts, and we'll be able to purchase from him. Okay, so we're in game.
Yes.
And as you can see, Barney can now sell us stuff.
Trinkets, odds and ends, that sort of thing.
So he can sell us food, ingredients, and we can sell back to him. So hopefully that tutorial was helpful and helps you sort of create a farmer. You can mess around with it, add and remove sort of things, mess around with different idle markers, add more animals and stuff, and make quite a nice authentic farm. So thank you very much for watching. Please visit my main website, my anti-social websites. Leave comments, let me know what you think. Let me know if you if you make that bucket setup sort of work where they go and take water from the river and all that. So thank you very much for watching, and I will speak to you next time.